Hi, welcome to my channel. It's called Never an Empty Nest. What we're going to be making today is a homemade lemon pie, complete with homemade pie crust and filling made with real lemons. The trick to any great pie is a really great crust. So if you follow along, we'll get the crust done first and get it baked, and then we'll make the homemade lemon pie filling. So this crust is made in a food processor. You start by adding 1½ cups of flour, a ½ teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and a ½ tablespoon of baking powder. I'm going to put the lid on that food processor now, and we're going to give it about 5 pulses just to distribute the flour mixture with sugar, salt, and baking powder. Next, we're going to add in about a ½ cup of cold lard. It's been chilled in the refrigerator and it's been cubed up. Just going to dump that into the flour and into the dry mixture. Separate it a little bit. We're going to put the top on that now, and we're going to give it about 10 pulses just to get it cut into the dry mixture. So I measured out about 60 milliliters of cold water. I'm going to add half of that now, and I'm going to pulse that 5 times. I'm going to add the rest of it and give it another 5 pulses. It doesn't really look like it's mixed very well when you stop pulsing it, but that's what you want. You do it in the food processor so that you don't absorb any of the heat from your hands in there and melt the lard. And that takes away from the flaky, crispy crust that you get from using very, very cold lard. I'm just going to get rid of this food processor now, and I'm going to turn that dough out onto my pastry mat. It's kind of stuck in there. Still really crumbly. Scrape out whatever you can get out of it and scrape off the blade. So I'm just going to work that together a little bit with my hands. I'm going to add a bit of flour to that just so that it's not so sticky. Just give it a little sprinkle. And then you're going to press it into a round kind of shape there. And turn it over and give it another bit of flour. Just pat it a little bit with your hands. My hands are really cold anyway, so I don't think the heat from my hands is going to make any difference. So I got a marble rolling pin here. Most people, I guess, have a wooden one, but that's really old. I bought that about 35 years ago. So you just keep pressing. Any cracks that develop, you just press them together. I'm going to have a few cracks in this one. Could have probably added another tablespoon of water to the crust. It wouldn't have cracked, but it came out perfect, so I'm not complaining. So just give that a roll. I got a really large pie plate. Normally I wouldn't roll it out so large, but all my smaller pie plates seem to have disappeared. So I'm just going to invert the pie plate on top of that crust now and give it a flip over. And remove that pastry mat. So you can see there's a few cracks in there. I'm just going to push the crust down a little bit without pushing it down and stretching it. I'm going to haul it in from the sides and push it into the bottom of the pan. Any little holes, you can just patch them up. Once that lemon pie filling gets in there and sets up, you won't even know they're there. I've used a food processor before in making pie crust, but I've never had the technique down pat. But I think I really nailed it this time because the pie came out so crispy and flaky. So I'm just going to grab a fork here now, and I'm going to go around that edge of that pie and just crimp it off a little bit. starts out really good, but then I need to flour my fork. It starts to kind of stick a little bit. So I'm just going to flour that up a little bit. So you know when you need to do that, because it'll stick to your pie crust. Just get a little bit in my cup here. Here. Okay. So just go around the whole entire edge of the crust. Just crimp it down. There's some fancy techniques you can do with your fingers. I've never really mastered those. Fork has always been the way to go for me for making pies. Not the fanciest looking pie crust, but it really doesn't matter much when the pie gets cut and the whipped cream gets added to it. Nobody really cares what the edge looks like. Do whatever works for you. It's your family you're feeding, and it's your work of art that you're working on here. Really, it is a work of art when you get something come out of the oven and it's absolutely perfect. You're very happy with it, and you do consider it a work of art. So now that we got that crimped, we're just going to get a knife and trim off the excess dough. Give that a little trim all the way around. My aunt usually takes the excess pie dough and rolls it out again and makes cinnamon rolls out of it. I'm not really good at that. My cinnamon rolls don't ever come out really good, so I just kind of get rid of it. Okay. We're just about done there. Okay, so that's all the trimming done. Just get rid of that pie crust or put it aside for later to do something else with it if you like. Next thing we got to do is pierce this pie crust. You got to put lots of little holes in this crust, otherwise when you bake it off in the oven, the steam, I guess, from the pie dough makes the big puffy bubbles come out into it. So we don't want that to happen. So just give it a generous little poke there with your fork, all up around the sides as well, because we don't want any big bubbles appearing in this pie crust. Now this pie crust is a little thin in spots for the size of that pie pan. I rolled it out, I think, a little too thin. I should have used a smaller pie pan, but the end result was incredible, so I'm not complaining. So this is all ready to go into the oven now. So I've preheated my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake this crust now on that temperature for about 20 minutes. It took about 20 minutes for mine to get to the desired level of brownness that I wanted it. You can keep an eye on it after about 18 minutes or so. If you don't want it as brown, or if you want it browner, just do whatever works for you. So here's what my completed pie crust looked like. It's not too brown, it's not too white. It's just right. I didn't get any big bubbles come out in my pie crust. I do have a few little wrinkles in there where I patched the dough together, but I really don't care. My family didn't complain when they ate the pie, and they didn't even know they were there. So to make something really, really good, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just do your best, and somebody for sure will enjoy it. So the next thing we're going to do now is make our filling. I'm going to start off by washing my lemons. I have to zest the lemons to get the bit of zest that goes into the filling, so I always like to wash the lemons. You don't know who's picking them up in the grocery store, so it's always a good idea to give them a little wash before you start. I'm going to cut these in various sizes now to make it fit my lemon squeezer. These are really large lemons, and they don't fit that lemon squeezer really well, so I'm going to have to cut some of the pieces down. I'm going for a half a cup of lemon juice. That's what my recipe calls for. So just squeeze that out. These lemons are at room temperature, so they give up a lot of juice. And they're really big lemons as well, so it won't take long to get my half cup. Just grab my cup here now so I can start measuring that. I got this process sped up a little bit so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. Full length. So I think that'll pretty much do it there now for the lemon juice. I think I have my half cup. So now I got to get about a tablespoon of lemon zest. So I picked the nicest, cleanest skin on the lemon that I could find there. And I'll just use my little microplane here to get a bit of zest off those lemon peels. You don't want to go too deep into the white part. Most of what you want is the yellow part. If you go into the white part, you're going to get a little bit of a bitter taste, and we don't want that. We just want the citrus flavor. So the next step is to get your eggs separated here. This recipe, I modified it to my own liking. I didn't like the thoughts of tempering eggs. I don't really see the point of it. I'm going to just crack the eggs into a bowl. I'm going to scoop out the egg yolks and I'm going to put them right into the pot. We're going to start with egg yolks in it right from the get-go. And I'm going to tell you what, you don't need to temper eggs to make lemon pie and have it come out perfect. So what I'm going to do now is just get a spoon. I'm going to scoop out these egg yolks. That was the lazy way. I thought it would work amazingly well, but these eggs are very fresh. And these whites are very, very thick, and they didn't come off as easily as they normally would. I actually lost a little bit of the yolk into the egg white. And if you get a little tiny bit of egg white into your lemon pie filling, it doesn't really matter. So just scoop that egg yolk out the best you can there, or separate it how you normally would, and you're good to go. This pie making thing for lemon pies, if you read some of the recipes, it sounds like rocket science, and I was very intimidated to try it first when I started. And right now it's just throw it all in the pot. You got a cup of sugar, throw that in with the egg yolks, give it a whisk around, get it all mixed together. Next we got 2 cups of water, just add a little bit at a time. Little dash of salt, I'd say about a half a teaspoon. We got 6 tablespoons of cornstarch there. If you like your pie filling a little thicker and a little harder, you can add 7. So we're just adding in the rest of our water here now. And give it a whisk, and your lemon juice and your lemon rind. And that's it. That's all you need for lemon pie filling. So we're going to turn that up on high heat. Be very careful not to let it scorch. I'm just turning it up onto the high heat to bring the temperature up on it just a little bit. And when you get it up to a certain point, you can see a little bit of steam coming from it, then you can turn it back. This takes about 10 minutes to bring this up to the proper temperature. So first, when you put it on, you can just leave it every 20 seconds or so, give it a stir. I turned it up another little bit because it wasn't getting hot enough, fast enough for me. Keep whisking it. I wouldn't walk away from it. You're going to get a bit of scorch on the bottom there. So you just keep cooking it, and then when it gets to a certain temperature, you'll notice it start to thicken up. It'll also start to look a little darker yellow. So mine is starting to get there now. I just turned it back a little tiny bit. You can see the color change when it starts to thicken up. It's more of a clear, bright yellow than a pale, dull yellow. Okay, I just turned it off now. It's up to the point where I want it. It's really thick. I just added in about 3 tablespoons full of butter. And I'm just going to whisk that now until the butter all melts through. And I have the heat turned off on the element there. So the residual heat from the element will just keep cooking that. I'll just leave it for probably a minute or 2. And then you can dump it right out into your pie shell. And that's about the simplest lemon pie you'll ever make. So you just let that cool off now. Probably takes 2 or 3 hours at room temperature to cool. I wouldn't put it in the fridge because the moisture from the fridge will probably make the crust a little soggy. So I like to serve my lemon pie with a little bit of whipped cream. Just take a bit of whipping cream, put it in a bowl and give it a whip with the electric mixer. I don't add any sugar or anything. You certainly can if you like your cream a little sweeter. Some people like to put a bit of coconut on top of their lemon pie. Other people like to make a bit of meringue and put on their pie. I'm not a real meringue fan. I really like the whipped cream. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would really appreciate it if you left a comment and let us know where you're watching from. If you like my channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out a lot. We're a very new channel, and any help we can get will be most appreciated. Thanks for watching.